Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Tech Times Daily. Or again, we're going to dive into a popular topic, I think, right now, which is, as always, AI. And you know, there's a very interesting story that hit the news wire at Tech Times. And with me, as always, is Christian to, kind of filter through this stuff and get a couple different perspectives and see where it goes. Christian, what's up, man? How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We had an interesting story, like I said, come across the newswire here at Tech Times today. So I'm sure most of our viewers, if not all, are familiar with George Carlin.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe not many people are familiar with the Dudesy podcast, which is Will Sasso, one of
Yeah,
his
from
friends.
from Mad TV and
Yeah.
Vine creator of the Lemons meme.
Mm. Yeah, Sasso's been around for a while. I can never forget his iconic Seagull from Mad TV, which I think was one of the best skits in sketch comedy. Um,
And mine was when he actually did he wrestle Bret Hart in
I
an
think he
angle,
did, yeah. I think he did.
right?
Yeah, but he has stepped in it again. The Dudesy podcast is an interesting podcast, and we can talk more about that later. It's maybe I guess it's the first AI centric podcast.
Aren't we supposed to be taking that title from them since this is a trajectory we're going over the past couple of days now?
Yeah, but they actually incorporate AI with, like AI tells them what to do. Right? Like
Mm.
it prompts a lot of what happens on their platform. And
So it's basically just them practicing giving up on life.
well, I think they try to do something unique. And Sasso's great. I think so. I don't really know much about his co-host, Chad Colgan.
No,
Um,
sadly, I don't know anything
yeah,
about him.
I really don't. But uh, I guess in an attempt, I feel like this was stupid on their part. But let's get into the news article first, written by Alden Domingo. So the estate of late comedian George Carlin has officially settled a lawsuit concerning an AI generated special that was released back in January by Sasso, Colgan, and the Doozy podcast. It was called George Carlin. I'm glad I'm dead, which is a very Carlin-like title, I think, which was us, and it's a supposed hour-long special produced by AI, and it was released even though Carlin passed away back in 2008. A voice very similar to his performed material on modern issues, including defunding the police and trans rights in a manner reminiscent of Carlin. The estate filed a lawsuit claiming that Carlin's name, image, and likeness were breached in addition to copyrights. And according to an attorney representing Mr. Carlin's estate, Sasso and Colgan agreed to permanently delete the comedy special and never rerun it on any platform. Now, according to court documents, they also consented to refrain from using Mr. Carlin's voice, picture, or likeness on any platform without the estate's consent. So yeah, I mean, what are the ethical considerations
Like,
surrounding
don't
the use of AI to generate content for deceased people like George Carlin?
that should pretty much be a given, right? Like, I know they're fishing for new ideas here, but it's a matter of morality and ethics. Like, creatively, it's available to them, but should you even do it if even if it's available to you?
Right. Well, I mean, I
They
think this is a
probably know
callback
this.
to,
Yeah, they probably know this would have amounted to a lawsuit, right? Since they're gonna be
I mean,
using someone else's likeness,
you had to know.
particularly
They had to know.
Carlin, all people.
Yeah, like they had to know. Yeah, I feel like it was a lapse in judgment for sure. But I feel like this is also a callback to yesterday's episode. Like this is the first time that this has happened.
Yeah, and I've thought about yesterday's episode for quite a while before we've done this episode. Like, should AI just be limited to just doing administrative work rather than just creative work?
That's a great question. Should AI be limited to administrative work? Um,
Like, should AI just be mapping out flight plans or train schedules or driving automated vehicles rather than creating images, videos, and such, which is particularly a human thing when it comes to creativity.
I feel a lot of people would agree with you, a lot of creators.
I think we also have an article up right now regarding Katy Perry and the rest of the artists actually
Mm,
asking the courts to actually restrict AI from being used for creative purposes. Terms for them, it's actually probably the music industry. Like for this one, I'm much more surprised in how much disrespect was shown, particularly by Will Sasso, a fellow comedian.
right. Yeah, it's really done in poor taste. Right? This is I understand like there's a difference between paying homage and being disrespectful. Right?
Did
Like
he not ask the estate first before doing this?
that's the thing. It doesn't seem that he did.
I recall the time when people were actually angry when Princess hologram was actually done during the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
So is it any different from this one?
Uh, well, it's a little worse, I guess. Right? The hologram was a likeness. This is voice, um, kind of an intellectual, because there's only one Carlin. Carlin had a specific style. So this is a little deeper, maybe, this could be judged as even a more intrusive um act than just a hologram, right? Like,
Yeah, let's disregard Carlin being dead for almost more than 2 decades now.
mm,
If you think about almost is it the 2 decades now?
I don't know, 2008, what is that?
Almost.
16 years ago?
Yeah, 16 years ago, almost
Almost,
two
yeah.
decades now. Would you imagine if I gave, let's say, a comedian of similar caliber that's alive right now? Yeah, can you think of one? Let's say I give Bill Burr an
Okay.
AI generated script to actually tell on camera or in front of
Mhm.
an audience. You think he wouldn't see that as slight?
Well, I think it would be fraudulent to the fans if it
Yeah,
wasn't disclosed that this was not his original work.
and we know the type of comedian Carlin is, right? He's pretty
Yeah,
much Mount Rushmore when it comes to stand-up comedy. Why
for
why
sure.
even choose him?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's where the difference is between, paying homage and, you know, doing something. I and obviously I don't know Will Sasso personally, but I would venture as far as to say this was not done in malice,
No, I
right?
wouldn't think it was done in malice, but it was still irresponsible.
Right. It was very irresponsible. And it's also kind of that gray area, right? Like where AI kind of gives you um the freedoms to just create whatever you want. Right? And it's exciting, right? Like if you can do this, like I mean, I would love to have a new special from Carlin, but that's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Just so happens that his stand-up specials before are so good that it still holds up now, and some of them actually still ring true.
Well, some of them now hit harder
Yeah,
than they did at the time.
it would be killing now, I believe.
Yeah. Like his point of view and the way he frames things, and um it's incredibly disrespectful to assume that this can be replicated.
And plus the fact that I don't think they actually asked permission from this estate to actually do this. Like that's a major oversight on their part.
Yeah,
I know
that was a huge, huge
what were they
blunder.
doing on their podcast, asking AI for what to do?
Yeah,
That
Dudesy.
now here's the thing. If AI suddenly told you to stab your friend in the heart just for a podcast, would you even do it? Even if it's the theme of your podcast?
Well,
Yeah, that's my
no.
thing.
If
They could
if
possibly
they
have avoided this. Like we highly saying like we highly respect George Carlin. Like this is the part of this AI episode that we're doing that we need to avoid. So I hope the audience would understand. Like that simple as that, I think people would accept it. Since Carlin is so beloved.
yeah, yeah, and that's another one. Yeah, like, George Carlin has an estate. You know what I'm saying? Like there's people that their livelihood is protecting his intellectual property, uh, protecting his reputation, protecting his brand. So it's kind of like going after, like it's a complete lapse of judgment, I think, because anyone else may they may not have received such blowback from the estate, like, and obviously I don't know, I'm just projecting here, but like I don't know, maybe Pryor or a Mitch Hedberg.
No prior they would receive backlash for it.
But
I
yeah,
think
well,
much
yeah,
heavier.
yeah, probably, yeah. But yeah, I said Pryor, but more so on like a Mitch Hedberg, right? Like who is a comedy legend, um, but was his was very short lived. He doesn't have the cultural pop that Carlin or Pryor does.
And I think Carlin's cadence is pretty distinct, which makes an AI work pretty easy for this one.
Yeah.
Like we
Well,
haven't even delved into the fact that this content is actually monetized, the type of content that they did. So there is money involved in it. But they
so
have deleted it, right? So
yeah, they have,
can
and
sell.
Dudesy right now is up to uh I guess it says 103 episodes, but looks like maybe 99 is their most recent, so I'm not sure exactly, but they do have. So I'll read from their website, right? Dudesypod.com. Welcome to Dudesy. Our hosts have been convinced to grant the Dudesy AI access to all of their personal emails, text messages, social media accounts, purchases, and browsing histories so that it can tailor the show to their specific personalities and entertain you at the highest level possible. Every episode is an experiment that generates data that will be used to make the next episode even better. Eventually, Dudesy will be perfect, and so will you. So,
Pretty bold
great
claim.
idea. I think it's a great idea. And they've been doing this for a while, so they were kind of first in on the AI generated pod, which I think it's a brilliant idea. I have not watched a single episode,
Nor have I.
but I did see him on some other. Well, I seen him on one other. I seen him on Tiger Belly, and he was talking about it, and I meant to watch it, but I don't know, just never did.
Yeah. Not taking away from Will Sasso being a great comedian. This is just a lapse of judgment, I think.
Yeah,
Like
but I
if
feel
their
like it's
system is the system of the AI automatic? They have no control over it.
well, I guess that's I guess they choose to not control it. You know what I'm saying? Like they could, I imagine if they wanted to, they choose not to, kind
And
of just
this
let
is
it go.
how we get T1000s in the future.
Yeah. I feel like this is kind of, if I can make an analogy, um, imagine a 5-year-old, let's say a little girl, right? She has long hair. She
Yeah.
has a new toy that spins a ribbon. You know what I'm saying? It's a great new toy. She's playing with it. She's playing with it. Be, past her better judgment, she puts it in her hair and hits it. Just to see, as a child, right? You say, oh, what's going to happen if I do this? Boom. Oh, that was a huge mistake. I feel like Dudesy's done the same thing. It's like, what would happen if we do a Carlin special? And then they're like, oh shit, that was a huge mistake. You know what I mean? Because the AI is so new, much like a young child with a new toy. It's like, oh, what can this do? Can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? Will it do this? And then eventually you find something that's painful. It's like, oh, not doing that anymore.
Well, we're working on equal rights here. Why not give the girl a nunchucks instead of weapons?
Well, the nunchucks don't spin by themselves. But yeah, maybe it's I don't know, a He-Man toy. I don't know what it is. Something
What's
that spins.
interesting about me regarding this article is I just found out that plans were unveiled by the FTC to prohibit AI deepfakes for all clients. Only businesses and governmental entities are currently protected from the restrictions. So, do they really want to head into that direction where AI is no longer consumer grade?
Well, I feel like right now the world is playing catch up. There's a lot of reactivity versus proactivity, right? It's like, oh, can't do that. We got to go back and say, oh, don't do this, don't do that, rather than preemptively saying, hey, this is
Because
probably not a good idea to do even once.
I think technology is distributed the other way around. Like it's privately used first before distributing it to consumers. Like they're
Yeah.
gonna be changing it up.
I mean, yeah, look at the internet and even the microwave, right? Those were all military grade things before becoming available to the public.
But would you think that AI would be much better in the space of being just administrative rather than creative at this point?
Uh, yes and no. Yes, because that probably quells a lot of these issues that we're having now. No, because as much as anyone else, I want to see the potential, right? Like, if you say you can only do administrative work, then that eliminates the future potential of AI doing seamless, nearly 0% fault surgeries or um, designing, airplanes that will never, ever, 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 ever crash, right? Like there's potential for AI, and I don't want to limit it
If
so
we just
early
put
on.
creatively, if we just put barriers regarding it for the entertainment purposes, do you think it's a possibility?
Like rubber bumpers at the bowling alley, kind of guide it in the right
Still being
way.
used?
I don't know, man. I feel like I don't want to limit. I don't want to limit it in any way. Censor it. I think you know.
AI does feel weird at this point. Like sometimes it feels like more than it's helping, it's rather diminishing.
Well, I think it's taken humanity in a different direction that we're not used to.
Yeah, in terms of creativity, I guess that's how I feel because it's usually talent and a skill to be creative. But if a
Right.
machine can actually do it, does it actually diminish your internal gift?
I mean, if yeah, like
So
you know,
human
how do you
value actually lessens.
right? Do you quantify entertainment by who creates it? If you find it entertaining, then it doesn't really matter where it comes from. If you have that I'm entertained reaction to whatever it may be.
Which makes it perfect that the topic that we have now is a comedian regarding George
Hmm.
Carlin. He has a pretty distinct signature when it comes to his comedy. I think the same could be said for all the greats, like Pryor,
Right.
right? They have distinct ticks, they have distinct cadences. If AI can do it, like, does it actually diminish their style or their signature?
Diminish, no. Um, I think if AI develops a unique cadence and a unique point of view, which it right now it cannot do. AI right now is basically a hyper it's a hyper plagiarism tool. AI doesn't do anything original. Everything it does, even Dudesy, right? This is not original stuff. It already said it gives it access to all these things. And so it doesn't have original ideas. It can take existing ideas and make it different, but it has no originality, none. And that's kind of the next the next threshold for AI is when it becomes original.
Yeah, my fear with this is actually people will be much more lazy creatively just because this is actually available.
Oh, of course. But that I think, and again, I don't mean
Like
to
the thing
like
with
this
you
isn't a
said
debate.
regarding, yeah, regarding the podcast, like I know you think it's a revolutionary thing. They did it, but this is just me just putting eggs on everything. Like bread and put an egg on it. Rice, put an egg on it. Like this is just it. Like music, use AI. Music done with
Right.
AI. An image done with AI. Podcast done with AI. Like
Right. I think there's going to be, I think in 20 years when we look at a graph of, what people want, like there's going to be a spike in AI and then shortly it's going to be short-lived because like I said, it's not original. Right now it's new, but when people stop being excited for the new tech, then originality is going to come back.
yeah, that's why I do agree with you regarding using AI in the aerospace and the
Mm,
medical field. But that's what I mean when I meant it to be administrative. I
right,
also
right, right,
meant it to be professional.
right.
That's why I specified when it comes to entertainment purposes. I feel like there should be limitations regarding it, but because it actually really does diminish the individuality of every artist. Like every artist can be questioned, is your work AI?
Yeah,
If Eminem suddenly had a bad week recording his album, people would suddenly question, is this really Eminem or is it was his lyrics done by AI?
that's true. It's very,
So
very true. Or it even goes to the other side. If someone performs better than expected, like, is this like you're a lot
again,
better than you were 5 years ago? Are you sure this is? It's like, no, I've honed
I know
my
I'm
craft.
gonna I'm gonna get a couple of hate from this, but if Recovery from Eminem actually was produced now, people would think it was done by AI. So
Then yeah, I would agree at the time. But now you look back, Recovery's a masterpiece. But it was just so different. Yeah, you're right. But you are 100% right. People would have been like, what is this? This sounds like Eminem. This, um, but it's not his
because
message or whatever the case may be.
I've seen a couple of Eminem uh, AI generated songs online. It does sound like him,
Well,
but
yeah,
you can still tell.
yeah. There's that something there that's just like, hmm, it's like when you get Splenda instead of real sugar. It's like, this is different, but not bad, but it's different.
With the boundaries of human curiosity sometimes knows doesn't know who it hurts, right?
Very true. Uh, but I mean, I think all I know is on this podcast, we're not going to make any ridiculous mistakes like Sasso and the Dudesy group. Because I mean, like you said, I feel like it was very, very obvious that that was a terrible idea.
Yeah, it was like if you pitch me the idea, hey, let's do a AI generated Carlin content, I would immediately laugh at it and just drop it.
Right?
Like,
Yeah, it'd be like, we can't do that. Like we're going to get sued. Right? How's that not your first reaction? Hey,
and
let's do
keeping
a
it
let's do
online,
an
like
AI generated.
doing it one thing and but keeping it online is another. Like
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think that it's a monetary issue for the Carlin estate, right? I don't think they're like, you're not making money off this. I think this isn't him. Don't do
they're,
it.
they're eating well enough, I guess.
Yeah, but yeah, I think they're more interested in preserving him and not allowing an artificial representation of what of his brilliance, which it's not going to be. I kind of wish I had caught on to this and was able to listen to it,
Yeah, let's say as much
but
as
it's
I'm
on.
dumping on Will Sasso now, I'm actually pretty curious.
Yeah, I mean, of course I want to listen to it, but not because I want to hear what George Carlin has to say, because it's not him. I want to listen to it to see, is it?
Except I think that comedy special would be pretty much pulling content from every special that Carlin has online. And I just want to piece together from which album it came from.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about how, because it says it discusses everything from like trans to defund the police, and like these are things that were not in the, front and center, in the early 2000s. So, it's just curious to see. I would love to see, but we can't, unfortunately. And I guess, yeah. Well, it's out there somewhere. It's somewhere. I mean, once it's on the internet, is it not? The internet's forever, right? Like you can't, just
Yeah.
because you delete it doesn't mean it goes anywhere.
And if we have a silver lining regarding this, this opens up a major discussion regarding the use of AI when it comes to entertainment creativity. Like, should we restrict it? Should we set parameters on how to use it? Should it just be used administratively and professionally in some fields? Like, there's a lot of nuances regarding this one. Like
Well,
I
I got,
said, it, it will be a long time before we get any real solutions regarding this. Like Will Sasso's uh George Carlin AI generated special, I feel like won't be the last one that we're gonna be hearing this kind of news.
yeah, I would agree. I feel like, this, like I said, 2 days in a row now, we've talked about an AI issue that's kind of unprecedented
And a bit problematic.
and a bit problematic, and from two completely different sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Uh, Now, my last question to you, man, is: do you think that at some point an entertainer, or yeah, let's just say entertainment in general, let's say for example, The Rock, right? Do you think that there'll be a point where he actually licenses his image and voice and all these things to a production company so that they can use AI, and then like, because he's going to still benefit, you know what I mean? Like, because right now
Yeah.
AI is decent, it's not perfect, but when it becomes really, really good, it'll be like, we'll pay you, $1 million for to
Yeah.
license your likeness, and then we can just produce movies.
Then we're gonna have to discuss the entire thing regarding AI because we will also be setting limitations to it because then we're gonna be setting exclusivity clauses to what type of
Right,
content it can actually produce. And it's not just gonna be say Chat GPT that's gonna be using it, right? It's going to
right,
be set on other AIs and all of the AI manufacturers, all the tech companies that actually produce AI for content will have to sit down and actually tell each other, hey, we own these rights. You can't actually have this on your platform.
right,
We all know how hard it is for them to actually sit on one table at this point. And what you're asking is already being done in some industries, like licensing likeness for video games, motion capture, like it's already being done, but the deal is being made by studio with proprietary software for the mocap. This
right.
one is gonna be limiting information. Is The Rock just gonna be limiting his just likeness or his entirety of his entire portfolio?
Right. Well, I imagine it would be very much like, you know, you sign a deal with Paramount Pictures, right? Except for you sign a deal with OpenAI
Yeah, and that
to
would
do,
also put a hold on other AIs to actually use it.
right. I think these guys get like a 6 movie deal, with Paramount, let's say, and then I mean it would be open. I think
At
the
this point,
possibilities are definitely there.
at this point, I think that's the only way that they could probably get money from this, at least get some sort of
Right.
return. They would also have to set limits on when to use it and what to use it for. Like
Oh
you
yeah, that's what
wouldn't
I'm saying.
want
Yeah, it would have to
you
be
wouldn't want The Rock suddenly being used as an AI for a steroid commercial, right? So
right. Right, right, right. Yeah, it would be one of those things where like the lawyers would have to be in there. It would be
there
something
are
that,
there are going to be limitations still, even if they actually license the likeness
right.
and and the voice.
But I mean, even now, I think, actors and actresses, they have clauses in their contract, like no nudity or, I will not say this or I will not play this type of character or, there's a million different things in these contracts that, and I can definitely see them just being like, this is the future, let's embrace it.
Yeah, we already have that contract. It's called The Politician.
Yeah, yeah, right. But yeah, I mean, I think we'll see um if anyone else makes incredibly short-sighted decisions.
Yeah,
And the
we
good thing
love
is,
Sasso, but this was pretty dumb.
yeah, this was stupid. Yeah. This was one time you should not have listened to Dudesy. And he knows that, I'm sure. But thankfully, stupid decisions like the Dudesy guys and old buddy from yesterday, they give us something to talk about.
Yeah, please keep giving us business.
Yeah. Do something a little more fucked up so we have a better topic. Like this is kind of, yeah.
Dare to be stupid. We encourage it.
Yeah. Yeah, that should be the slogan, Tech Times Daily. Dare to be stupid. Y'all dare to be stupid. But all right, yeah, that wraps up today's edition of Tech Times Daily. And again, tune in next time for more updates and insightful discussions on the latest in technology, not just gadgets, but technology news, pop culture, all these things. And yeah, for Christian Tejedis, I'm Chris Short, and we'll see you next time.